Good morning, hello, and welcome to Sunday Sermon with me, Graham Hughes, your vicar in chief, I guess. Oh, I didn't turn the lights on me Christmas tree. That's terrible. That's terrible. I'm gonna redo the intro, right? And while that's going on, I'll put the lights on for the Christmas tree. Okay, here we go. Let's take two. Dun dun dun. Okay, that's much better. We have lights on the Christmas tree. Yay! Hey everybody, how you all doing? It is Sunday the 29th of November 2025. We're nearly there. We've nearly made it to the end of 2025. Oh my God. We've got another 3 years of Trump. Sorry. That's not going to cheer anyone up today, is it? Let me give a little bit more light on the subject. There you go. It's a bit better, isn't it? What have we got in the chat? We've got, who have we got in the chat? We've got Lost Missionary is definitely in there. We've got Daylight M. We've got Simon Smith. We also have the Cheese Factor, which is awesome. And we've also got, we've got Elle. Hi, Elle. How you doing? And others. If you'd like to join our friends in the chat, our socialites in the chat, all you need to do is hit the big juicy subscribe button. Well, actually, if you're already subscribed, give us a like. Give this video a like. And then if you aren't subscribed, subscribe. And hit the bell notification icon to find out when we're going to be doing random live stuff, live streams. Woohoo! Is it the 30th? Oh, fuck me. I'll start again. Should I do the intro again? No, you don't want to watch the intro again. Hello and welcome to... I should have checked the date before I started, shouldn't I? To Sunday Sermon on Politics Social. I'm Graham Hughes. It is Sunday the 30th of November 2020. Now, you have made it to the end of November. Well done, you. Thanks, Tommy, for putting me right there. Today we're going to be talking about special advisors. Okay, this whole episode, this whole show is about special advisors. What the hell is a special advisor? A spin doctor, a SPAD. They are unelected political staff paid by the taxpayer to give ministers partisan advice. They sit between between ministers and the permanent civil service, supposedly doing political work, not admin, which is what the civil service are there for. They're there for admin. It's like, I need to know everything about boxers, and they go out and they learn about boxers. Unfortunately, they come back with the thing about cardboard boxers, whereas the minister wanted to hear about Lennox Lewis and Muhammad Ali and stuff. Anyway, they are, in practice, they're gatekeepers, they are spin doctors, they are enforcers. They take the role of, like, whips, but within not the whole party, just the government, or just the cabinet. And then they're also known for being internal hitmen and women, and sometimes de facto co-prime ministers, in the case of one Dominic Cummings, who we will come to, no doubt, later in the show. They're not accountable to voters, barely accountable to Parliament, but they are often shaping policy, messaging, and personnel at the top. Is that right? Is that right, that to have these people, these Svengalis, these Rasputins, so high up in a democratic system, whispering like Grima Wormtongue in the ear of King Theoden? I don't think it is. UK media treats some of them like celebrities, building the myth of the all-powerful superb advisor. But, today's sermon's going to be about the history of these whispering gremlins, these Grima Wormtongues, these salacious crubs, and how we got to Morgan McSweeney. And I want to talk about how the system can be fixed. So first of all, let's talk about the history of super advisors, a proper rogues gallery. I suppose the first one that I became aware of when I was, formative age, was a guy called Bernard Ingham. It was, wasn't it? Bernard Ingham, who was under Thatcher. He was the early sort of archetype of the modern spin doctor, known for bullying the lobby, controlling messages, acting as Thatcher's the extra lobe of the brain, as written. I think it was Robert Harris who wrote that. The author. Didn't he write Fatherland? Before he did that, he was a political editor for a newspaper. It's funny that, isn't it? Anyway, so yeah, and then what Ingham did is he helped normalize this sort of aggressive media management as central to government, which led to the rise of Alistair Campbell under Tony Blair, known as the King of Spin, who the character played by Doctor Who in The Thick of It was based on. Was based on Malcolm. Malcolm Tucker was based on Alistair Campbell. Malcolm Tucker, who famously said that there's a thing called Tucker's Law. Do you think if we can get a super chat, if we get some super chats in, I know it's a Sunday, so I'll just make it 5 of them. If we get 5 super chats, any colours over the next 45 minutes, I will read out Tucker's Law. I'm scared to do it, just in case I get demonetized. But there you go. And you'll also get confetti, so that's always good. So yeah, we had Alistair Campbell, and he ran an ultra-disciplined media grid. He gave out daily lines to take, and he had a ruthless control over the messaging coming out of number 10 Downing Street. And he was very, very good at that job. He was. Credit where credit is due. But he left when he became the story. And he broke his own rule, so he left. And the rule was the advisor must never overshadow the PM. And he says he never ran his own agenda or undermined Blair, which we could possibly contrast to this to today with McSweeney, perhaps running his own agenda, Blue Labour, all that jazz. Yeah. And then we had Damien McBride under Gordon Brown. He was a sort of smear artist who turned into a bit of a liability under Brown, and he briefed vociferously against his own colleagues. He became synonymous with Labour infighting and was blamed for one of the many factors that led to Labour getting booted from office in 2010, the 2010 election. The first special advisor I was aware of was Sir Hiss from the Jungle Book, says Kirsty. Yeah, indeed. Things haven't really changed, have they? You know, you have the person in power and then you have the person whispering into their ear. Thank you very much for the super chat there. And yeah, indeed. I guess when I say that Bernard Ingham was the first that I became aware of, I guess in political circles, not necessarily advisors in Disney cartoons and stuff. So yeah, the Damien McBride was forced out over the Smeargate emails, which became sort of, it was a classic case of an advisor's ego and games ending up blowing up the government effectively. And then we had the Steve Hilton under Cameron, who was a bit of a disruption merchant. He floated ideas like sacking 99% of civil servants and shrinking Whitehall into this, so they could fit in this old, like, I don't know, Edwardian, Victorian, I don't know, Georgian building that he wanted to stuff them all into. He wanted to get rid of 99% of the. This is the guy under Cameron. His name is Stephen Hilton. He alienated civil servants. He was increasingly ignored, and he eventually buggered off to Silicon Valley. I believe the last I've heard of this guy, Stephen Hilton, he's running for some kind of elected position in California. As an ultra-right MAGA fucking lunatic, you know, there is a very thin membrane between the MAGA lot and the Tories, the refuck lot over here. Thank you very much for the £5 super chat. Bernard Ingham was a different in that he was a career civil servant. He had previously worked for Barbara Castle. Thank you very much for the super chat there. He previously worked for Barnard Castle. Oh no, that was Dominic Cummings. That was a different advisor. Yeah, I mean, we've all got. Is it Sir Geoffrey in Westminster who is the the advisor to the MP, or eventually becomes Prime Minister? Is that wise, sir? Is that why? But Sir Geoffrey was different because he was a civil servant. He was a permanent civil servant. So whether Labour or the Tories were in power, he would maintain that position. Whereas these lot, the SPADs, the special advisors, come and go depending on not just like the party that's in power, but often it's the prime minister who's in power. The prime minister goes, that special advisor goes as well, and then the new prime minister comes along with a new special advisor, settle special advisors. This Stephen Hilton, he he's a good example of sort of ideology and blue sky thinking, completely detached from governing reality. And then you had the doomed duo of Fiona Hill and Nick Timothy under Theresa May. They controlled access to May, centralised decision-making, notorious for their high-handed behaviour. They were blamed fairly and squarely for the disastrous 2017 election campaign, which Theresa May went in to try and win a few more seats. She lost a few seats instead. And according to the leader of the opposition at the time, actually the opposition won. Yeah, that's why the opposition totally formed the government at that moment, and it wasn't the Tories going into bed with the DUP in order to, just continue on with, being the governors of the country. It was actually the opposition. The previous leader of Labour was actually our prime minister for 2 years between 2017 and 2019. Did you know that? Yeah, in his head, in his mad little head. Should we talk about what's happened at the Your Party conference down in Liverpool this week, or up in Liverpool for most of you, I guess. This weekend, should we? No, I don't want to talk about that. Another time to have a good old giggle. This is a Sunday sermon, not necessarily about what's in the news this week, but just a general thing that I want to talk about, and give a bit of a lecture. Sir Humphrey, yes, that's the one. Sir Humphrey. Speaking of former politicians going to Silicon Valley, I'm surprised Nick Clegg hasn't popped up since leaving Meta. He's a twat, isn't he? British comedy is at best emulating real life. It is at its best emulating real life. The Office, at the thick of it, Westminster. L says King Louis has changed his mind. I want to be like you. He has now recognised the human race as a shit show and is content being himself. Does he not want to walk like me and talk like me? GBD. Have we ever had a puppet prime minister before? I think this might be the first, and I sincerely hope it's the last. We could argue that Boris Johnson was a puppet prime minister under Dominic Cummings. Absolutely, I would say that. I don't think that Starmer is a puppet prime minister, and I'll get to this, but I think that Morgan McSweeney is a toxic asset in the heart of the government, and something needs to be done. And I'm amazed he hasn't been yeeted yet, and that kind of worries me. It was funny when Mark Kermode took Campbell to see the film of In the Loop, and Campbell could not see any similarity between himself and Malcolm Tucker. Yes, indeed. Three more super chats, and I'll read out Tucker's law. So where was I? Cool. Fiona Hill and Nick Timothy, I was talking about them, wasn't I? They resigned after the disastrous 2017 election. Do you really talk about the disastrous 2017 election for the Tories? Like, it was even more disastrous for Labour. That's what everyone seems to mean. Labour still lost. Anyway, look, I'm not going to go back there. It's old ground, already been covered. But May never really recovered after that disastrous election, and she ended up getting yeeted in 2019, having to step down. And then we come to the chaos goblin in chief, Dominic Cummings under Johnson. He had a big role in Vote Leave. Then he was the guy who had the idea to have a bus with a big lie on the side of it to get people on side to vote to make us all poorer, to cost us £1.7 billion a week. Cost of economy, 1.7 billion a week. My God in Himmel. Actually, no. According to Phil, that was just that 1.7 billion is just what they're not getting out of tax. 90 billion a year is just what's been lost in tax, not what's been lost to the economy. They reckon it's 7 to 8% of our GDP, not 4%, which is bad enough. 7 to 8%. Dominic Cummings did that. Dominic Cummings, privately educated, of course, so is Boris Johnson. and lives in a fucking castle. But he had to get out of London to get away from the metropolitan elite. He didn't like the elites, all the elites hanging around London, being all elitist and stuff. God, get rid of that. Drive up to Barnard Castle and live in a castle. Twat. His castle's not Barnard Castle, by the way. It's just another castle that is associated with Dominic Cummings. He literally lives in a motherfucking castle. This is a guy who waged war on institutions, sacked people on a whim, tried to remake the state by sheer force of will. He broke lockdown rules. He staged a cardboard box walk of shame, cardboard box holding walk of shame out of number 10. And he later publicly eviscerated Johnson, this total breakdown of loyalty. And then we had some other advisors, but then we got to Starmer, and his first advisor was Sue Gray, a civil service heavyweight, dragged into Labour politics. He was appointed as chief of staff, but then smashed by a wall of hostile briefings from political aides and officials, which may or may not have included Morgan McSweeney. We don't know. But someone was briefing against her, and then Morgan McSweeney got her job. I'll leave you to make your own conclusions. I'll leave you to join your own dots. So she lasted just 3 months in the job, 93 days, and Starmer said Sue wasn't the right person for this job. And this is an early warning sign that the culture around Starmer and his advisors was already toxic from the start, from the get-go. That started this pattern across all of them. They start as brilliant fixers or geniuses. The media inflates their power and mystique. They become the story, which is going against Alistair Campbell's number one golden rule: don't become the story. And that's the point where they either resign in disgrace or become a drag on the Prime Minister's authority. I would say that Morgan McSweeney has become a drag on the PM's authority. Your mileage may vary. But when you become the story, when a newsreader becomes the story, when a presenter on Have I Got News For You becomes the story, then that's not the position that they should be in. They should be commenting on the news, not making the news. Angus Deaton, I'm looking at you. Why is the UK obsessed with these super advisors? Well, it's because the UK system centralizes huge power within number 10 with no written constitution. Not that a written constitution would save us from this kind of shit. Look at Steve Miller over in America. Don't look at him too long because your face will melt because he's so ugly. But informal roles and personal relationships with that matter more than clear structures. And political journalists love these kind of who's up and who's down stories and intrigue, palace intrigue narratives. And advisors who talk to the media become characters in this fucking everlasting soap opera in Westminster. And Neil Kinnock has compared it to the court of courtiers in a royal castle. And other countries have powerful advisors, but very few promote them to near PM status in public when they haven't been elected by the public and they can't be gotten rid of by the public. I say that actually, but if public discontent against a particular spin doctor gets to a certain point, they will be gotten rid of. We don't need an election to get rid of these people. But the result is that Britain has this weird culture where nerds in suits get treated like Rasputin or Machiavelli or fucking Bond villains, And we'll talk about Morgan McSweeney, a soft-spoken Irish guy born in County Cork. Comfortable upbringing. His dad was an accountant. His dad was a toolmaker. No, his dad wasn't a toolmaker, but he worked in. He was an accountant, and his mum was an office worker. He moved to London as a teenager. He worked on building sites. He had a brief stint at LSE. He dropped out. Then he had time on a kibbutz in Israel, funnily enough, and then in politics, marketing degree at Middlesex University. So if we're talking about who might have the more academic qualifications, I think that my degree in politics and history from Manchester outweighs him. Anyway, he joined Labour in the Blair era. He had a junior role at the party HQ. His early political work included working with Steve Reed in Lambeth to prise the council away from the hard left. He was successful in 2006 to taking control of the Lambeth Council. He built a reputation as a ruthless and effective organiser within Labour's internal battles. Barking and Dagenham in 2010. He helped crush the BNP, remember that, in an area where they were threatening to make some kind of parliamentary breakthrough. He's focused on local issues. He focused on local issues and anti-racist organising, and which added to this kind of campaign maestro mystique around him, you know. And then he had some failures. He had some setbacks. In 2015, he ran Liz Kendall's. Liz Kendall, do you remember her? No? Okay. Liz Kendall's leadership campaign for the Labour Party. She finished with 4.5% of the vote. Corbyn obviously won easily. It shows he's not infallible, but he is firmly rooted on the Labour right. He is a blue Labour. And Labour Together, he became a director of this think tank in 2017. Don't forget, anyone can call themselves a think tank, a one-man band, or one-woman band, call themselves a think tank, put out surveys and dodgy data and things written up in, you know, PowerPoint presentations and send them off to all kinds of people and they get coverage. Anyone can call themselves a think tank, just like anyone can call themselves a nutritionist. It looks like in America, anyone can call themselves a nurse now, even if they're not. That's nice of Trump on it. Anyway, that's another story. But yeah, here's this Labour Together opposed Corbyn's direction and became a base for the Labour right to regroup, and regroup they did. They were fined 14,250 quid for late and inaccurate donation reporting. The fine was used by the Tories to demand deeper probing of Labour finance, but the investigation did not reopen. I mean, look, I saw a video by Danny fucking Price over the weekend, and he made this very, very salient point that as soon as the fire was still raging in the Wang Fuck complex, which they won't say on TV because obviously it's called the Wang Fuck complex, the Wang Fuck complex in Hong Kong, and people got arrested. Like 6 people have been arrested already, I think, in Hong Kong. Already. How many people got arrested and charged over Grenfell? No one. No one's going to jail over Grenfell. In Hong Kong, it's like, you motherfuckers, people have died because of you. You are going to jail. Simple as that. Simple as that. But, you know, if you want to commit murder, then just become an architect or an engineer and build a building with flammable material on the outside and put poor people in there and then just watch them burn, eat some popcorn, and you'll never go to jail. If you don't have the nous to become an engineer or an architect, and you don't have the time and the energy to go to university and study all that shit, and money, obviously, because it costs a fucking fortune. I'll tell you what, why don't you just, if you want to kill someone, just get behind the wheel of a car. Just get behind the wheel of a car. Guy fucking drank 11 pints of cider. 11 pints of cider, plus shots, got behind the wheel of a car, killed a teenage kid, and his mate ended up getting his leg amputated above the knee. He got 7 years. He got 7 fucking years. He drove off from the this came out over the weekend. He drove off from the crash site. Went home, made himself a cup of tea. Not arsed. 7 years. He'll be out in 3.5. Good behaviour. Why is it that if you kill someone with a car, you're given, you know, all these points? People get 30 years for attempted murder, for attempting to do what that guy did what this guy actually did. 30 years for attempted murder. But you kill someone with a car, it's like, oh, well, you know, I know they were like 19 times over the fucking legal limit and they got behind the wheel of a car and they literally murdered a fucking teenager. But, I mean, did they intend to do that? Yes, they did. Yes, they did. Anyone who drinks that much and gets behind the wheel of a car intends to kill someone. It's the only reason why you would do that. That the intent is there. But because the oil companies and the fucking car companies, hand in glove, are so fucking powerful, they want to make sure that fucking joyriding, drink driving, motherfucker murderer is back out on the streets as soon as possible because he's great for them. Think about it. You crash a car, insurance company's got to buy a new one, isn't it? Hey, there's a car accident, insurance goes, oh, great, we sell another car. Otherwise, a car lasts for 10 fucking years before someone gets a new one, but if you crash it, oh shit, got to get a new car now. Who do you think benefits from that, eh? It's like in America, every time a bunch of children are shot dead with some lunatic with an AR-15, the shares, the stocks and shares and the arms companies go up. The number of sales for guns goes up. They're like, hey, everyone, gather round. Everyone in the office, in the arms fucking office, the merchants of death. Hey, guess what? There's been a murder. There's been a mass murder in an elementary school. Yeah, all these kids are dead. All their brains are splattered all over the walls. Ah, yay, woo! We're going to be richer than ever before. And they watch their little stock price tick up by 1%. And they're like, woohoo! Bigger yacht this year, love. Yay, I wanted a slightly bigger yacht. Because that one, that was like, I don't know, that was the one that was half a mile fucking long. It just wasn't long enough. I wanted it to be half a mile and an extra inch. We can get the extra inch now. We can afford it. Because all those kids died. What a time to be alive. What a time to be alive. But yeah, so I'm still raging about the fact that no one has gone to jail over Grenfell. No one went to jail in this country over the fucking credit crunch. Fucking smashed up the economy for fucking decades to come. Oh, and also Brexit. No one's gone to jail for Brexit. Wowzers, trousers. Anyway, back to Morgan McSweeney. So so as a response to the previous leaders' party, the right clubbed together and said, "Oh, we need to get rid of this guy. He's a pain." And they started planning for a post-Corbyn Labour Party and what that would look like. Corbyn famously about as electable as a lettuce. Actually, no, the lettuce one was more electable. Jesus Christ, that's terrifying. But yes, so they just bided their time, and they supported Starmer's 2020 leadership bid. They became and Morgan became the architect of a three-pronged plan, okay? They wanted to detoxify the party, which is fair enough. It did need doing that. Become a credible opposition, and then outflank the Conservatives on crime, defence, and the economy. That's a big one. Now, Truss's mini-budget did Labour so many favours, a Labour favour, if you will, because it made the Tories look inept when it came to the economy. It made it look like the Tories didn't know what they were doing with the economy. And once that die was cast, the writing was on the wall that Labour were on their way out. Labour, the Tories. Edit that bit. Producer, edit that bit. The Tories were on their way out. He played Morgan McSweeney played a big role in purging Corbyn supporters from positions of power in the party. He became Starmer's chief of staff in opposition and then campaign director in 2024. And in the 2024 election, he oversaw candidate selections. He pushed out left-wingers. He angered unions and grassroots. He focused heavily on hero voters, leave-backing 2019 Tory voters who wanted Labour back. He directed money and organisers into marginal seats, sometimes at the expense of big names in safe seats. He famously, Jonathan, what's his name, lost his seat, didn't he? And the balloon-faced knobhead, what's his name? Wes Streeting. He only won by about 500 votes, because he was just he's got a safe seat. We don't have to worry about that. But Jonathan Ashton. What the fuck was his name? Someone help me in the chat. He lost his seat. I think Labour may have the largest poll lead in UK history after the Truss budget at a 39-point lead. Yeah. I mean, what a gift. What a gift to Labour. Graham says, didn't Iceland put half of their governing party and financial sector in jail after the credit crunch? No, maybe not half, but they did put a lot of people in jail in Iceland, where they have a proper democracy. The arms manufacturers are definitely the root of these kids were playing violent games or playing Slayer backwards lies. Oh, yeah. Absolutely, Tommy. Absolutely. Well, I mean, the oil companies are behind all of the bullshit about range anxiety and carbon footprints, and they make all this shit up, and hydrogen, and it's just greenwashing, and they make all this up in their swanky conference rooms because they're incredibly rich, or they're on the 93rd floor of some fucking god awful fucking eyesore, and they sit there making these decisions, saying, "Oh, how can we infiltrate the green movement and make them look bad?" I'm personally convinced the Just Stop Oil people were paid by the oil companies to make people who don't want us to use oil look bad. That's my take on it. I think, right, just between you and me, I think Palestine Action was paid by the fucking Israelis to make people who want to see a peaceful future and a good future for the people of Palestine who have endured so much, make them look bad. I mean, wouldn't you? Don't think about it. Isn't that the best way to defeat your enemy? Make an organisation that looks fucking awful and go, oh, look, that's what they're all like. It's what we should do to the right. We should make organisations that are just absolutely turgid. We should have a right-wing organisation that's called, like, Eat the Pensioners or something. Soylent Green Incorporated. And we'll say, well, what we need is to get rid of all these old people. And ally yourself with Nigel Farage and Kemi Badnoch and all that lot. Push for like forced euthanasia or something. I don't know if that will derail the euthanasia bill that's going through Parliament at the moment slowly, thanks to the fucking Lords. But at the same time, I mean, this is what they do. We know that the CIA put people into positions in the Black Panthers and into the Communist Party of America and all this to derail the motherfuckers, to do this, the CIA guidelines of how to fuck up an organization from within by, just being awkward, just being shit at your job, just being awful. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, like I said, Morgan McSweeney oversaw the candidate selections for the 2024 elections. And he delivered a landslide in terms of seats, despite only a tiny increase in vote share, like 2% increase. And his wife, Imogen Walker, was elected as Labour MP for Hamilton and Clyde Valley, reinforcing a sense of inner circle dominance. So, how did McSweeney go from being a genius strategist to being a problem? Well, he became Starmer's chief of staff after Sue Gray resigned, imploded. He won the internal power struggle over who would run Number 10. His roles including coordinating political strategy, managing the operations, controlling access, overseeing advisors and comms. His public persona is described as quiet, unassuming, even shy. He's not naturally front of camera. And until recently, there were very few photos of him, which is probably a good thing because you don't want to become the story. You don't want to become the story. Friends portray him as obsessed with winning and permanently fearful of complacency. He's seen as a seasoned political operator to a relatively inexperienced PM. Don't forget, Morgan McSweeney started working for Labour back in the Blair era, whereas Starmer only became an MP in 2015. Loyalists see him as the brains behind the landslide, and critics see him as the architect of Labour's rightward drift and internal ruthlessness. And he's become a bit of a lightning rod for anger at Labour's direction. They're coming for Morgan because they want to get Keir. The key accusation is they're importing opposition-style briefing culture into government. And he's known for heavy reliance on anonymous briefings to friends in the media. And he has allegedly continued this habit inside Number 10 instead of cleaning it up. And I think he should have cleaned it up. And there's a lot of things he's got wrong with these briefings. He had the anonymous coup briefings against the balloon face guy. What's his name? Wes Streeting. Stories across multiple outlets about a plot to oust Starmer, with the balloon face goon painted as the would-be usurper. And these weren't like rogue pub chats. They were clearly coordinated briefings. Starmer insists they didn't come from Number 10, but MPs and journalists widely suspect McSweeney. And the result of this is rumours that were mostly Westminster gossip was suddenly turned into headlines in all the press and fueled a real crisis. And Streeting's reaction, he called the story silly. He likened whoever briefing them to whoever briefed them to someone watching too many episodes of Celebrity Traitors. He was allegedly furious at being used as a pawn in this factional bullshit, and it undermined the trust between senior ministers and Number 10. I mean, the balloon face goon he does look like a balloon that someone's drawn a face on with a Sharpie. But apart from that, he is the Secretary of State for Health. He's in charge of our NHS. It's an important fucking job. and the one that I don't think should be held by people like, I don't know, that little shitbag who had it during COVID, who killed, what was it, 23,000 people were killed in the first week of COVID because we didn't need to fucking die because they were late getting the people. And then this little twat, this privately educated gobshite with no fucking understanding of anything, that's completely fucking out of his depth, dickhead, like Matt fucking Hancock, somehow is in charge of all this. And what's the first thing he fucking does? He takes people who have this big plague, right? There's a plague going on, right? And he takes people who have contracted the plague, right? And he moves them out of the hospitals and puts them in care homes, one in each care home around the country, so that all the other people, the vulnerable old people who are most likely to die from this plague, die of the plague. Yeah, so an important job. Let's just put it that way. An important job. I don't want to get too derailed by talking about the previous Tory administration. Jesus Christ, lest we forget. But yes, the MPs are fucking furious about all this. The Labour MPs, some of whom I've spoken to, they see McSweeney as the problem at the heart of the operation. If you say what's going wrong, they'll say, McSweeney. They will, And MPs say number 10 seems obsessed with internal enemies and Labour elites rather than fixing the country or getting people on side, because they're losing so much party votes. So many votes across the country. It's embarrassing. Hey, listen, if you want me to read out Tucker's Law, you got 14 minutes left. Just over 14 minutes left to throw in some super chats, and I will read out Tucker's Law live on the internet. So anyway, some see removing him as being a tactical win, a way of sending a message to Starmer without toppling the fucking government and causing all these problems. I've spoken before about how easy it is to get rid of a chief of staff. You say, I don't want you to be the chief of staff anymore, and you get another chief of staff. It is a lot easier than replacing a prime minister, which requires a vote of no confidence. It requires if they don't want to just resign. It also requires a leadership ballot to decide who they want to put forward to the members. The members then have to vote on who they want to be the leader, and then it goes to the top. And then eventually they announce the leader 2 months later. 3 months later. What do we have? 3 months where we have an interim prime minister of Harriet Harman as prime minister for a few months while we wait for the results to come through. Like what? What? No. Getting rid of a chief of staff is a lot easier. It's a lot easier. The culture under McSweeney is constant anonymous briefings, as we mentioned, internal plots and counterplots, no clear positive narrative of what the government is actually for. The comms have been shit, as we have spoken about, oh my God, so much on this channel. The government feels inward-looking, bunker-like mentality, permanently at war with itself. Oh, wow. Di, thank you very much. Di Stanton, you're such a lovely person. Thank you so much for the £20 super chat. Tucker's Law, please. Oh, thanks, mate. We need 2 more super chats. They can be any price. You don't have to give 20 quid, but 20 quid is incredibly kind. Thank you very much. It's the last day of the month, so my pay from YouTube is from the beginning of this month, and it's a short month this month, so I might not get as much as I normally do. Not saying normally. My average, I might be a little bit below my average for this month. So I'm thinking of doing a show tonight. Just like get a few more super chats in just before the end of the month to try and break through the there's a certain target that I have each month, and I'm not quite there. What am I off? I'm so close. Oh my God. £39. I might actually get £39 from this show, actually. I'm £39 off getting my target for the month. Anyway, I just want to get to a place where I have to pay tax. Graham, I think you need to look around at aid, as I think we need to lower your blood pressure. Oh, aid. Lovely aid at the top of mine. I might change that. I might make it AIDS Dad. But I was gonna do that, but you wouldn't know who it was. Although it would be funny, wouldn't it? Should we do that? Shall I swap it out? I'll get a picture of Aid's dad, and I'll swap it out for that. Aid will be like, "What the?" By all means, sack McSweeney, but only if they want to use an excuse to blame him for the Brexit red lines. Otherwise, it's usual yawn fest. Says Nick. Just Hannah, who was it that bragged about Starmer being put in front of a driverless train? That's probably McSweeney. Hence my assessment of him as a puppet PM. Is this a reference to Tucker Carlson making Piers Morgan look reasonable? What? Did that happen? I thought it was the other way around. But there seems to be an outbreak of amnesia given the number of people who have already forgotten the previous Tory administration, says Colin. Yeah, I agree. McSweeney does seem to have a vice-like grip on Starmer, though, says Just Hannah. That can't be denied. Yeah, maybe. Liverpool fan, Just Hannah. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Well, Everton got battered yesterday, but what is going on with Liverpool? What has happened? I personally think, right, because this really genuinely happened. There was a rumour going around that the reason why Australia never qualified for the World Cup for so long was because the last time they qualified for the World Cup, they played a match in Mozambique and they paid a local witch doctor to curse the other team so they would win. No, they didn't pay. They commissioned a witch doctor to curse the other team, right? And they didn't pay her. They didn't pay the witch doctor. And years later, there's an Australian comedian called John Safran who's as funny as fuck. If you want to watch some clips of him on YouTube, I really recommend some of the shit he's got up to. He's a Jewish guy. He wants to try to join the KKK as a Jewish person. He's done the maddest shit. He wants to try to, you know that Holocaust denier, the writer, something Irving. Do you remember that guy a few years ago? He put him in a radio studio and then started pouring gas into the room and screaming at him. If you say, and he's shouting at him through the glass in the radio studio. And if you say it was me, I'll deny it. Anyway, but yeah, he went to Mozambique to try and to lift the curse, but unfortunately, the witch doctor had passed away. And so he went to the football field where the stadium where the game, the Australia versus Mozambique game was played, or I don't know if it was against Mozambique, but it was in Mozambique. And they had to invoke the spirit of this witch doctor and say some prayers and make some offerings and make some amends and effectively pay the witch doctor in the next life. And it worked. A year later, the Australian team finally, for the first time in 10, 20 years, actually managed to qualify for the World Cup. And the manager of the team actually thanked John Safran in a news conference afterwards. I was like watching it going, that is fucking brilliant. He lifted the curse. But I think that's what's happened with Liverpool. I think they commissioned a witch doctor to win the league. But then they didn't pay her. That's what I think what happened. There's some kind of curse. There's some kind of curse on Liverpool at the moment. Oh my God. I know a lot of you don't watch the round ball, but essentially this is the team that won the league last year and they just had a run of 7 losses. It was just unheard of, absolutely unprecedented. But there you go. God, I've got to say, John Safran, SAFRAN, John Safran, please make a note of his name and go and watch some of his clips on YouTube. He's fucking there was one where he went to Israel and he went to a sperm clinic in Israel and he swapped his sperm. He's Jewish and he swapped his sperm with a Palestinian guy and gave it to because they had separate things for Jewish sperm and Palestinian sperm, so that people who were, oh my God. Anyway, he got crucified. In where is it? I think it's the Philippines. They do a thing at New Year where they crucify people. They put true believers up on crucifixes. He did that. He fucking did it. Anyway, Paul Fletcher, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. When Starmer sacks McSweeney in number 10, make sure the slow horses are in the room. Indeed, indeed. Um, Unfortunately, John Safran falls for Bob Larson's manipulation. Oh, that's a bit shit. Benny Larson's telling me there. I haven't seen any of his stuff for about, God, it must have been, well, since I left Australia, so it's 13 years ago. But in his day, he was boss. Yeah, don't make anyone your hero. Just watch his old clips. We're talking about McSweeney and the government feeling more inward looking and bunker like under his what would you call it, manipulation, his advice. Let's just call it advice for now. Let's try and be nice. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Don't know why, but when we talk about him driving the train, that Starmer's over reliance on McSweeney is a problem. PM is repeatedly described as saying, "I've got Morgan who does that." This sort of delegation of political judgment that comes through, and it creates the impression that McSweeney, not Starmer, is driving the strategy. And when polls create and policies look cruel or inept or incoherent, blame naturally falls on the chief advisor. Oh wow, thank you very much. Oh wow, Dice Stanton, thank you very much for the £35. That is so kind of you. Oh fuck it, demonetize and be damned. And Steve Jackson there with a £2 super chat as well. Thank you. We now have 6 out of 5. It says 6 out of 5 on my thing now. Thank you very much, Steve and Di. And that means that we can now release the confetti. Confetti. Yay! It's the confetti. Anyway, thank you so much to everyone, Paul and Di and Steve and everyone else who's dropped some super chats in. Thank you so much. We have got the confetti, and I will read out Tucker's law, which is this: if some cunt can fuck something up, that cunt will wait till the worst fucking possible time to fuck that shit up, because that cunt is a cunt. I love that. You should put that on a tea towel. I do actually want that on a tea towel. If anyone wants to make some like fan-made art for me, I want that on a fucking tea towel. It'll be fucking beautiful. Because that cunt is a cunt. Anyway, so where was I? Talking about I've lost my fucking place now. The over-reliance on McSweeney. And also you got we were talking about the polling, weren't we? I mentioned the polling. Labour has lost roughly half its support since the 2029 election. Polls now show Labour under 20%. Reform are in the 30-35% fucking region, depending on what polls you read. And Greens and Lib Dems are picking up huge chunks of the vote from Labour. And critics argue that this is the inevitable result of McSweeney's style triangulation and rightward lurchers. You demoralize your base and you legitimize your opposition, your opponents. And this is something that I've talked about a lot on this channel. And I know we repeat ourselves a lot because we're seeing the same shit every day. But when the government talks about migration because Nigel Farage wants to talk about migration, that means that Nigel Farage is setting the political agenda, and that's not right. The government should set the political agenda. They should be doing news briefings every day. They should be doing press conferences 9 o'clock every morning. They should be doing press conferences. Absolutely. McSweeney is increasingly described as the most powerful man in Britain, or de facto PM. This is exact nightmare. This is the nightmare for any chief of staff, because it means they've become the story. And once you're in Rasputin territory, it's usually only a matter of time before, they poison you, shoot you, stab you, drown you in a river, whatever the fuck they did to Rasputin. The mad monk, he still wouldn't fucking die. And then, we've got a sort of, we're seeing now there's damage control that's been done over the last couple of weeks. The reports that he has promised to stop briefing journalists. Starmer has supposedly told cabinet that that only the comms team should talk to the media, but the damage is already done, and the MPs don't believe the leaks will stop, and they don't trust the operation. And this is more than about just one bloke. It's a structural problem. The UK super centralizes power in number 10. It creates conditions where a single advisor can become a bottleneck for decisions and comms. No written constitution and a vague sort of job descriptions encourage mission creep and power grabs. You know, this can be seen as a power grab by someone who's not elected. And I keep saying this because it's really important. If someone's not elected, we didn't ask for them and we can't get rid of them. You know, they can't put the blame on us for what's happening. And the cultural problem here is that Westminster loves courtiers. They love their whole palace fucking intrigue stuff. The journalism intensifies stories about who's really running the country and all this shit. And politicians feed this by allowing advisors to become unofficial spokespeople and power brokers. And the problem is for Labour members is they are told constantly that it's you, Labour member, you are in control. You guide policy. We have these conferences and the delegates come from all over the country and they vote on what we want to do. What did they vote for a couple of years ago in Liverpool? They voted to bring in PR. They voted to end first past the post. They had people come up on stage and make statements who were for and against, changing the electoral system. And the people who were saying for changing it won. And yet we're being ignored. Most people who are in Labour want to rejoin the EU, thank you very much. Most people in Labour wanted to remove the 2-child benefit cap last year. And we were patient. And it paid off, I guess, because now it's been removed. And 450,000 children are going to be lifted out of poverty. And that is a fucking wonderful thing. Thank you, Labour, for doing that. Credit where credit's due. And I know it's not enough. I know there's so much more that Labour could be doing. I want them to be bolder. I want them to be more forthright and set things up so that even if, heaven forfend, Nigel Farage is our next Prime Minister. God, no, please don't let that happen. Even if they salt the earth in such a way that he just cannot undo it, invest massively in wind farms, every fucking hill, every roof of the country, put a fucking solar panel on it. Just go fucking bananas. So 99% of our power comes from renewables. And what are they going to do? Is Refuck UK going to rip the solar panels off people's roofs? Is it going to get rid of all the solar panels in the car parks for Sainsbury's and Tesco and Waitrose? Are they fuck? Are they going to rip up all of the wind turbines in Dogger Bank? No, they're fucking not. But, and here's the thing. Sorry, I didn't stop touching the table. I need to get a mic that just comes in, at the side, like what Aid has. Well, I could use this same mic. I just need one of those little stands. I need to buy a stand. I need to make a stand. But yeah, one of the things that Trump did as soon as he got in was he stopped the construction of a massive fucking wind farm off the east coast of America, right? But it was being built and the money had already been spent, already been invested. He stopped it. Right? Dead in its tracks. So it's sitting there half fucking built, right? And open to the elements. I'm sure it'll fall apart over the next 4 years because the sea doesn't like stuff that isn't, Bristol fashion, seaworthy. It'll just get eaten alive. And this is what Refuck will do if the infrastructure is half finished. So Labour need to just go nuts and make sure that it's finished because once it is finished, they can't take it away. They can take it away if it's half finished. If Labour take too long to build this shit, to build the infrastructure, to redo the grid, to allow for people to be able to keep energy in the millions of electric cars that we're going to have, where's the energy going to be stored? In the millions of electric cars. And if we need an extra bit of energy, we can take it out the electric cars and pay the electric car owners for that energy that we've taken out the electric cars, offsetting the 300 quid they're having to pay a year surcharge for using electric cars on the public roads, which I don't disagree with. Ms. Paula Thomas, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. On centralisation at number 10, that really started under Thatcher. Yeah, famously, she's supposed to have said in the cabinet meeting something along the lines of, and I'm just going to paraphrase, she wanted to do something. The rest of the cabinet didn't want to do it. She's famously said something along the lines of, that is 1 vote for, 19 votes against, the motion is carried. Because she wanted to do it. You see, take that, democracy. Also, the spitting image, the famous spitting image sketch where she sits down for dinner with the cabinet and they say, what would you like to eat? And she says, I'd like to have a steak, please, super rare. And they say, what about the vegetables? And she looks at the rest of the cabinet and says, yeah, they'll have steak too. That's a really good joke. I'm not gonna put the tank out for that one because I think that is a classic fucking joke. Anyway, so yeah, Starmer's big problem here is he has a preference for delegation and technocratic distance, especially from messy politics, and it leaves space for McSweeney to become the political brain and this internal enforcer. And when McSweeney overreaches, which he has done a few times now, the whole operation looks captured. So how do we unfuck this system? How do we unfuck this? How do we unfuck this country? You know, how do we unfuck the SPAD system? Well, I would immediately remove McSweeney as chief of staff, do so as part of a wider reset, not a single scapegoat move. Not going to oh, it's all his fault. Replace him with someone explicitly low profile, non-factional, and trusted by both MPs and civil servants. Someone like Jonathan Ashworth, I think that was the name of the MP that I was trying to remember, who lost his seat in the last election. Someone like him would probably be quite good in that kind of role. You know, new chief of staff should focus on operations, coordination, and delivery, not factional fucking warfare. Leave it. You're in power now. Don't worry about it. Just get this stuff done, you know, and codify the role of the chief of staff. Make them a operational manager, a political warlord. What we need really is like a charter or something like that. That, you know, like the ministerial charter that the MPs all sign up to, and the code of conduct and all that. Not the MPs, the ministers, I guess. Yeah, we need like a code of conduct, but also one that has a clear job description for the chief of staff or the chief political advisor or whatever the role is, to say what they're allowed to do and what they're not allowed to do explicitly. We don't have that at the moment. We don't know. It's incredibly fuzzy. Like, what is their role? What can they do? What can't they do? Well, we don't fucking know, because no one's ever decided that there should be some kind of blueprint to say this is what that job entails. If you are going to be the chief of staff for a governing party, a government, then there are certain roles and certain things that you have to do. And this isn't party politics, right? It shouldn't be party politics, because this is talking about the government. It's not talking about the Labour Party. He's not an advisor to the Labour Party in that sense. He's an advisor to the people running the country. And yeah, I think there needs to be more codification, demarcation of roles for that role, you know, what he's allowed to do, what he's not allowed to do, what she's allowed to do, what she's not allowed to do. And having that codified, I think, is really important. I think there should be a separation of church and state, or, you know, in this case, a separation of political strategy, which is party-based, and government operations, which is the state. So separate the party from the state in this role, and put clear lines, like who runs policy, who runs comms, who runs the political party machinery. This kind of blurring of the lines between who's, you know, the chief whip's role to try and keep everyone on board, being an enforcer, the head of comms putting things out to the press. Why is the chief of staff putting things out to the press? It should come through the comms office, even though they're shit. But that's the job. It should never be the job of the chief of staff to do that. If they're going to be a chief of staff, then they're in charge of the staff, surely, working for the government. Why are they advising the Prime Minister? It just seems like mad to me. Why is he called the chief advisor? Ms. Paula Thomas, thank you very much to the £5 super chat. That What Vegetables is a true story. They were at Somerville College. Really? It was my God. Wow. That's amazing. Apparently Spitting Image has got really good. They keep putting stuff on YouTube and it keeps getting taken down. It's kind of cool. Thatcher got on by 2 to 3 hours of sleep. She wasn't fond of delegating. Andrew says, could not believe the party political broadcast on behalf of the Tory party, aka Laura Iceberg with yucky peers, add to the gloss, fill 2 sick bags. Yeah, Laura Iceberg? Laura Kunsberg, is that the one? She's a massive Tory and privately educated, of course, because we all are. So yeah, we need to have these clear, demarcation of the roles of the chief of staff and all the roles in number 10. We need to have this codified. We need to have it written down, right? So they can't blur the lines. A chief of staff can't be doing 3 things at once, running 3 fucking different departments in the government at once, because it shouldn't work like that. They should not be a whip. They should not be running comms. And, we need some kind of change in the culture as well. If you're going to have these rules, right? Okay, ban anonymous briefings by special advisors as a condition of employment. That is it. If you are a special advisor to the government, you cannot fucking brief the fucking your mates in the media. If they want to speak to the media, they must go on the record with their name and their job title. That's it, right? Make it clear that becoming the story under any circumstance is an instant sackable offence. Like turning up, drugged off your tits to work. If you work at Best Buy and you turn up and you fucked off your head on fucking PCP, you'll get the sack. Instant sackable offence. That should be the equivalent, right? You become the story. That's it, mate. Sorry, we've got to show you I haven't got a newspaper here, have I? Fuck. Oh, I've got private eye. It's an old private eye anyway. You're on the front cover of the private eye, Morgan. I know he's not, but I'm just giving an example. You're on the front cover. Fuck off. That's it. End of. And of course, you've got to be reasonable about this, because there'll be some nefarious newspaper owners, which is all of them, who'll go, we'll put the chief advisor on the front cover for some trumped up thing that they haven't actually done. But if there's no news story, then it won't get picked up by anybody else. It won't become a big thing. So, obviously, you've got to be a little bit sensible in how you make all that come together. So, we need transparency. We need an annual register of SPADs, their responsibilities and reporting lines. We need to make it obvious who does what, not just to the people who are doing the job, but also the government, the party that they're part of, and also us as the voters. Not just the party members, but the voters who are like, what are these people doing? It should be transparent. Make it obvious who does what. So power can't hide in vague titles like chief of staff, who somehow also operates doing the comms and briefs the press and corrals the politicians, the MPs, to vote the right way in certain things. That's the chief whip's job, or the whip's job. There's more than one. They can't hide in vague titles and shadowy roles behind the scenes. No, fuck that shit. And we also need parliamentary oversight, I think. We need a select committee on the power to look at the power and examine the power of special advisor structures and behaviour, hold hearings on the culture of briefings and the impact on public trust, and make it politically costly to use these SPADs as attack dogs, like what happened with Dominic Cummings and like what seems to be happening with Morgan McSweeney. And Starmer's got to take personal responsibility for this. He must take direct ownership of political strategy. He's the Prime Minister. He can't be delegating this to somebody else, He has to be the moral core of the government. And if the government is doing stupid fucking shit, it should be his fault. I've spoken before about the rules on cargo ships, or ships in general, right? This is the rule. If you are the captain of a cargo ship and a disaster happens on that cargo ship, it is your fault. It is always your fault. It doesn't matter if you are asleep. It doesn't matter because you're off. I mean, I don't mean asleep on the bridge, but it doesn't matter if you're in your cabin asleep and it's the middle of the night. If your ship hits an iceberg, it's your fault. It doesn't matter if you are on the bridge and there is a pilot who's just come out in a little boat from the port that you're going into and comes up to the bridge and says, oh, go that way. So they go that way and they crash into a wreck. And whose fault is that? Is it the pilot's? No, it's the captain's. It's still the captain's fault. Believe it or not, it is still the captain's fault. When a boat comes alongside and a ship comes alongside in the docks, right? And the captain goes out on the town for the night and he's, having a drink in a bar, eating deep fried frog's legs or whatever you do when you're in the Philippines. And the ship sinks because another ship crashes into it. It's the captain's fucking fault. The captain will be in shit for putting the ship in a situation where that could happen, even if they're not actively there. If there's a fire in the paint store, it's the captain's fault. Even if it wasn't, if the anchor chain breaks, if one of the lines snaps and fucking takes out one of the linesmen, it's the captain's fault. And that's the way it should be with politics. None of this, oh, well, I'm a bit of a twat, but yeah, it's all their fault. I know that didn't work, but that's all their fault. I'll just blame my special advisor. Set up a situation so they can't blame the special advisor. The buck stops here at the famous, I don't know, was it Truman's desk? The buck stops here. It's up to the leader to make those decisions and also to take the responsibility when things go wrong. Even if it's not directly their fault, it's always indirectly their fault because they have delegated the responsibility to some other fucking clown who's fucked it up. So why did you pick that clown? Why did you put them, a supremely unqualified person, in that role? You fucked up. It's your fault. And above and beyond that, you've got the idea of collective responsibility in the cabinet, which we don't really hear much about these days. But they're supposed to take collective responsibility. The Prime Minister is technically supposed to be first amongst equals in these matters. So, yeah, I mean, there is a lot more ministerial responsibility that I want to see for the Prime Minister and for the cabinet, over and above blaming everything that goes wrong on the special advisors. Oh, it's all their fault. Let them become a lightning rod for all the discontent. Because at the end of the day, these people are put in power by the people in power, right? So if they fuck up and they start briefing against their own ministers and you're like, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you briefing? It's your fault because you put them in that position of power and you never told them what the rules were, which seems to be the case with all these chief of staffs and all these advisors that I've talked about. Look at Dominic Cummings and all the shit that he tried to pull off. When New Zealand lost 50% of its navy because the captain sailed in the warship into a reef, they went through great pains to make out it wasn't her fault. Yeah, but it was. 90 billion is apparently a very conservative figure. Yeah. If you watch G and Phil's show this week, Phil thinks the number is closer to 2 billion per annum lost in overall revenues. Yeah, I think it is as well. But no, not revenues. I think that's the overall hit to the GDP, which might be even more than that. It might be 300, because what this report said was 7 to 8% of our GDP. And our GDP, I think, I said it was 2 trillion. It's 2.6 trillion, 2.7 trillion, I think, at the moment. Let me just look it up. The GDP of UK, $3.3 trillion, and the estimated nominal GDP for 2025 is 4 trillion. Wow, our economy is doing surprisingly well right now, considering everything. But GDP of UK in pounds, please. No, I don't want it in dollars. I want it in pounds. Give me it in pounds. In GBP. GDP and GPD. I want the GDP of GB in GBP. The GDP in GBP. Bloody hell. So the UK's GDP was 2.8 trillion. Okay, so that sounds about right. So 2.8 trillion. Let's say 2.9. Okay. So let's do a quick calculation. Let's do a quick calculate. Go, give me a calculator. Oh, that's Notepad. There's the calculator. Sorry, the Notepad looked like a calculator. I'm becoming tech now. Oh, let me have a look. Right, so let's go for 2,884 divided by times by 0.08. Okay, there you go. So yeah, 230 billion. Yeah, so that's how much the economy's been smashed by that fucking man maggot, that fucking the bollocked faced foghorn of fucking stupidity that is Nigel Farage. 2.3 billion. Not 2.3 billion. 230 billion. 230 billion a year has cost our economy. What a twat. That's at the high end. That's taken into account what the GDP is at the moment, which is about 2.9 trillion. But yeah, 6 to 8%. That is 230 billion. So yeah, well over a trillion. Well over £1 trillion lost Jesus. Anyway, so yeah. The GDP of the UK. That is fucking insane, isn't it? So, yeah, Starmer must take, personal responsibility. I think we need to make it politically costly to use SPADs as attack dogs. I want to see him take direct ownership of political strategy. I want him to stop outsourcing political instincts to one backdoor operator, and I want him to regularly explain his thinking in public. You know, I want to see more press conferences every fucking day. I want to see town halls. I want to see long interviews and direct messaging, not just managed comms and brain farts from the government's leaking out all the time. Jack Russells. Oh, thank you, Jack Russells, 4 years for the £5 super chat. That's really kind. Foghorn of fascism, says it. Jack says, afternoon, Graham, and all you lovely lot in the chat. Oh, thanks, Jack. That's really sweet. That's really kind of you. So let's close up since I've been yakking on for over an hour now, and I'm sure you've got things to do on a... Oh, it's kind of sunny today, isn't it? It's cold and sunny. Here in Durham, I don't know what the weather's like where you are. Your mileage may vary. But yeah, I just want to say, Britain is supposed to be a representative democracy, isn't it? That's the whole plan. That's the whole point. Not a soap opera about over unelected officials, or courtiers in the case of McSweeney. We didn't vote for McSweeney. We didn't vote for Dominic Cummings. We didn't vote for Damien McBride or Fiona Hill or Nick Timothy. We didn't vote for any of these motherfuckers. And yet too often they have more day-to-day power than most MPs that we do vote for. The public sees the chaos and the leaks and the coups and the anonymous briefings, and they conclude that they are all the same. And their cynicism is a gift to Farage. It's a gift to Refuck. It's a gift to every would-be strongman, fascist, right-wing gobshite. And if Labour wants to survive, it wants to do useful shit, it needs fewer Rasputins, more adults in the room, fewer anonymous briefings, no Chatham House rules and all that bullshit. We just need transparency and honesty, and a prime minister who leads instead of hiding behind his favourite fixer. If your unelected advisor is more famous than half your fucking cabinet, then you don't have a government. You've got a court, and the rest of us are just fucking, peasants outside the fucking gate. We need to look at this. We need to change the whole culture around how we run the government. And it's just saying, this is how it's always been done. It's not good enough. It's just not good enough. And so I want to see better from Labour. I do want to see Morgan McSweeney gone. I want to see a wholesale change in the culture of the way they do things at the top. And who knows, if they do that and they do that quick, they might not lose so many local government seats in May. Otherwise, these seats in May are going to be fucking insane, right? It is going to be fucking mad how many local councils are going to be taken over by fucking May if they don't sort this shit out and sort it out fucking quickly. And Starmer will go. Starmer will go after May if they do disastrously in the locals. I fucking guarantee it. And here's a way to make that not happen. Just Russell's for you says Denmark. Love Denmark. So my auntie married a Dane back in the 1970s, and so I've spent a lot of time over in Denmark in my formative years and since. I absolutely love the bones of the place. It's just great. It's a great little place. It's not perfect, but then nowhere is, because no human is perfect. So why would we expect our civilizations to be perfect? But we're getting there. We're getting there. Okay, so that's it for today. I just wanted to talk about special advisors in general and Morgan McSweeney in particular. I don't think anyone's disagreeing with me looking at the chat. Take the mid 200 billion resulting in 90 billion hit to the exchequer. Shocking. Time to undo the red lines and get back to some semblance of normality. We need to rejoin the single market. It looks like the European movement now is moving towards moving back into the market as well as one of their policy lines, rather than just Erasmus and Horizon and stuff. So that's good as well. Rah, Rasputin, Blue Labour's greatest love machine. And what's the issue with Fiona Hill? Says Furtive Fuel. Well, Fiona Hill was one of the advisors to Theresa May in the run-up to the 2017 election, which was a fucking disaster for the Tories. Anyway, so that's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. You stack up £1 trillion in £50 notes, and it's 5 times higher than the International Space Station. That's how much money £1 trillion is. And Nigel Farage has seen that stack of money. It goes right into the sky. You can't see the end of it. It's that far into the sky above the International Space Station. And he's set fire to it. He's gone, we don't want that. Let's give it to other countries instead. Let's give it to Russia. Let's give it to Russia. Bastards. Anyway, Indy gets the union out the windy, says Pete. Nowhere is perfect, but we can try. As long as we're human, nothing will be perfect, but we can try. Yeah. Yeah, Benny, beautiful words to end on there, mate. Because, like, you know, we're the difference between the right and the left, not necessarily economics or politics even. It's just this. People on the left are trying to be better, whereas people on the right are not. That's it. That's a big fucking difference. But there you go. That's the world in which we live. But there's a few of us fighting the good fight as best we can. Never give up, says Jack. Yeah, it's true, because you don't know what's around the corner. You really don't know what is around the corner. What's going to happen next? Okay, so thank you so much for watching. Really massive thanks to Di in particular for the super chats, and everyone else who's dropped the super chat in as well. Really, really kind of you. If you have not already given us a like, if you will give us a like, that would be absolutely bloody wonderful. Just hit the thumb up, and if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. It really helps. And if you are subscribed and you haven't hit the bell notification icon, please do that. You'll get a little buzz in your pocket. Everyone loves a buzz in the pocket when I'm going to go live. I might do a show tonight. If I can. I've got the time. I've got to make a roast dinner, so it might be after the roast dinner. So please, if you are subscribed, hit the bell notification icon, and if I'm doing a show tonight, it'll come up. But otherwise, I will definitely be doing a show tomorrow. Definitely 9 o'clock in the morning, or 9:05, usually 5 minutes past 9. I might surprise you by actually being on time tomorrow. But yeah, please join us for the morning brew here on Politics Social with me, Graham Hughes. I hope you've had a good time this morning, having a chat with everyone. And if you want to continue the conversation, and if you are a member of the channel, if you've actually joined the channel, you should have access to the Discord server, the Politics Social Discord server. It's like an old school bulletin board, but it's got video capability and stuff, and you can continue the conversation over there. So please, consider it. And in the meantime, thank you so much for watching. Hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.